boop 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 brown doo 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 boop 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 boop. And you hear like a little maraca shaking in the background.
We didn't bring our props.
We didn't have an intro, but here we are.
You nailed it. Hello, everybody. This is a special edition of In Review. It's Breaking Bad in Review. Well, the Breaking Bad movie in review, El Camino.
Yeah.
Really excited. Really excited.
How tired are you guys?
Very.
Okay, so what time it was released last night at midnight on Netflix.
Did you watch it this morning?
Greg and I were up at 6:30 a.m. Watched it this morning.
Wow.
I don't stay up past like 10:30.
Okay, wow.
That's fair.
Yeah. So what about you guys? When were you up till 3?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We started, we watched in our separate bedrooms, so I assume we started at the same time.
Oh, because you guys were under the same roof.
Yeah.
I was very, very worried, though. Initially, the internet was
Yeah, the
kinda
internet was
spotty.
being weird,
no.
but it started working for me.
When you right-click on the PS4 button, and it shows you the bit rate and and it was like 720p at 2 megabits per second. I was like, oh, things are bad.
Yeah.
And then it loaded up, and it was in 4K, and it... I finished it around 2:20 last night and stayed up until 3:30 just thinking.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
What were you thinking?
Had a good little cry, you know. How about you, Cool G? Oh, you watch it at 6:30 in the morning. Man, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I loved it. I wanted to watch it last night and this morning, but Tim had me watching old kind of funny shows I've never watched.
Why?
Like them playing video games in the museum and stuff.
Weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Tim just likes watching himself.
Waste of time.
It's
He
fair.
does like watching himself. I can hear his voice echoing from our living room when I'm trying to sleep at night. All throughout the movie this morning, Cole Greg was like, wait, how long have we been watching? How much more do we have? And I thought he was like getting anxious for it to be over. But no, he was like, I want more.
Yeah. I wish I hadn't looked that it had a 2 hours
I know.
and 2 minutes runtime. I wish I hadn't looked at that because I could feel when the end was getting near
I know.
and I didn't want it to end.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just I loved it. I think it's such a love letter to Breaking Bad fans. Around the third cameo, I thought, this is just Endgame. This is Endgame. This is like we're seeing all these characters that we've loved and or hated.
Yeah. Assembled.
Yeah. And we're sort of, it's just a little slice of life story. My dad texted me this morning, was like, well, did you like it? He hasn't seen it yet. And you know, he and my mom are big Breaking Bad fans, and I said I loved it, but it's not what you expect it to be.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I sort of tempered my expectations because I went into this knowing that Vince Gilligan probably, if he's smart, he won't throw at us like this brand new big villain that's got this giant cartel who's like above Gus Fring or something.
Yeah.
Like that. It's
or
nothing
this whole
like that.
crazy news story or anything. Yeah.
It's nothing like that, and I think it was perfect because of it. Like, you know, I think there were some drawbacks, but I absolutely loved it.
All right. So before we get too far down, I'll introduce you guys, and I'll introduce myself in case you don't know who I am. I'm Gia, Tim Gettys' fiance. Gia Tab Harris. We don't have a lower third, but that's where you can find me.
Giance, as some would call you.
Yes, I go by that as well. Next to me, I have Andy Cortez.
Hey, guys.
I don't know any of your guys' nicknames. What do you go by?
They say the Hispanic heart, though. I'll go by Latino Heat now.
Latino.
I like that.
Okay.
Guerrero.
All right. Sweet.
That's a good one.
We got Cool G,
What's happening, y'all?
my movie watching partner these
Hell
days, and Barrett.
So,
And so this is In Review, which you can watch live at twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. And you can watch it later at youtube.com/kindoffunny or at roosterteeth.com. Get the show ad-free at patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like our Patreon producers did. And shout out to today's Patreon's producers, Al Tribesman and David Mantel.
David
Jack,
Mintel
I can't
and
do
Al
the-
Tribesman. We had this inside joke that
Oh, yeah.
Al Tribesman is the predator because it's like a tribe of like a warrior.
I don't know
Yeah.
Predator.
Predator.
like the movie
Schwarzenegger?
Predator.
Yo, I
the
know,
alien.
I don't know it.
Dreadlocks.
I can't do the noise, but also
David Mintel's the mind freak.
Got it.
Street me.
And
Cool.
just don't ask why. We're idiots.
Cool. All right. So Tim wrote me a little cheat sheet here to just walk through what's up with this movie.
Of course.
So the name of the movie is El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, and it was released last night at midnight. It was directed by Vince Gilligan, who is an American writer, producer, and director. He's known for his television work, specifically as creator, head writer, executive producer, and director of AMC's Breaking Bad and its spinoff, Better Call Saul. He was also a writer and producer for The X-Files and
Hell
was the
yeah.
co-creator of its spin-off, The Lone Gunman. So he really likes spin-offs, I guess.
I didn't even know that there was a spin-off.
Yeah,
for
No,
The
I think it was
X-Files,
like
yeah.
one season or something. Yeah.
like Joey, the Friends spin-off Joey.
Yeah.
Didn't go that
That
great.
didn't get
No.
more than one season.
I think it did it have 2? Was it
I
only
thought it
one?
was like
I'm
4
looking this up.
episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look it up. The budget was just over $6 million on this movie. So most movies, the Hollywood movies, are like 100 million, 70,
200 million.
200
yeah.
million.
Oh yeah.
So that is not very much. And on top of being released at Netflix, it was also had a limited theatrical release, but no numbers on that yet. At AMC's, right?
Yeah, it's I think it's Alamo Draft
Oh, is it Alamo?
Houses. Yeah, throughout the country. It's very limited. I think it's only this weekend. And I was trying to convince Andy to maybe for us to go see it this weekend, but they're all sold out. And it
Wow.
was
Yeah,
really sad.
I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw one of our friends, Trevor Starkey, tweet about it and was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's available at Draft House. Should I go see it?" I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know that was a thing." And Joey was like, "Oh yeah, they've been sold out for a long time."
Yeah, because I
damn.
think at our Alamo they had it in the smaller theater, which is just like 30 seats or something, so it easily sold out. There's another theater, but it's the theater all the way down near the pier. It's like, that's I don't even want to look into that. That's so far away.
But I also don't know if I would have preferred seeing it in the theater.
I was gonna
Maybe
say
I
that
want to
too.
rewatch it in the theater,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I feel like there would have been a little too much clapping.
A lot of
For all
wooing for the
all the
cameos and the fan service.
which like gets me jacked up. But I
Yeah.
like Breaking Bad is so
It's a TV
dialogue heavy.
experience, yeah.
it's so it's so much of the core of Breaking Bad is Vince Gilligan's writing and his dialogue, and I feel like
The
I would have been worried to
details.
miss a lot of that.
Yeah.
And even though it's, obviously a movie that's getting a little bit of a theatrical release, it's like, it's kind of the continuation of a TV universe. So it feels like you should watch it almost like a TV show.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it didn't feel totally theatrical.
It felt like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Update on the Joey TV show.
Oh,
It
yeah.
had 2 seasons with 46 episodes, but 8 unaired on NBC, which I believe is where it originally aired. So there you go.
Whoa. That's
It
a
always
different Joey.
That's worse than your Snape
No, it's a
impression.
different Joey. Okay, that's Joey Lawrence.
It always breaks my heart when I hear about unaired episodes of shows. Like it's
Yeah.
like, wow, they put all that budget and time into making it and it didn't even
Never saw the light
air.
of day.
Yeah. All right. So first impressions, what did we think of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie?
I think this was, I'm surprised to hear you say when you're talking to your dad about it's not what you expect. This is exactly what I was hoping for, of just a little bit of the aftermath with Jesse and enough to give him the finale that he deserves. I rewatched the show leading up to the movie, and rewatching the finale, it's a great finale. It wraps things up really well, but it's the end of Walt's story, and
Yeah.
I don't feel like we really got enough of closure with Jesse's character, and that was always one of the biggest questions when the show ended, was what happens to Jesse. And there's so many interviews and questions to Gilligan about what happens to him, and Gilligan always said, like, I personally think he gets away and finds a better life, and maybe he goes sees Brock and whatnot. And
See, I was on the opposite side because I heard
Really?
an interview where I'll never forget the interview of him saying, I believe it was at like one of the AMC sort of watch party sort of
Yeah.
things. I think it was there. But they said, what do you think happens to Jesse? And he says, well, he probably gets caught. Like his fingerprints are all over that lab.
yeah.
He doesn't really have a whole lot of people to help him out in this situation.
They're all
Right.
dead.
And that always sort of like stung me because I just feel like this character has been
Interesting.
tortured for so long, and we've seen he is scarred like physically and mentally,
Yeah.
and I wanted like this proper send off. So
I might have
kinda got
been
it.
thinking of a
Yeah.
different interview with like a different producer or something. But yeah, watching it this time, we got the finale I think Jesse Pinkman deserved, and I believe what we all wanted, honestly, to see him go through all this and get to experience like a little more with him, and to give him the send off I really think he deserved. I loved it. It was, again, it felt like another episode or two of Breaking Bad. It had a great balance of funny, goofy one-liners in the
Yeah.
beginning. Very, very tense scenes of just little moments, right? Of I'm trying not to be super spoilery yet until we get into the plot, but there's just a point where he's trying to break into an apartment, and there's just a really great shot of someone slowly coming up to possibly like find him, and just that the way it's shot, the way the music kind of tenses up, there's just a lot of that Breaking Bad did so well that they were able to put into this movie, and that's really all I wanted was for them to nail the tone of Breaking Bad, and yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Cool, Greg. What did you think?
Man, I love this G thing, dude.
Yeah.
It reminded me of so many fan fictions I read when Breaking Bad first ended, and just kind of like the mix of all my favorite parts. And I really think it really is like social commentary on, like, you know, life of crime's bad, but like the life of a snitch, bro. That shit get real complicated real quick.
Yeah. I already sort of talked about my feelings.
Yeah.
but-
So were you guys like waiting for this or wanting this when the Breaking Bad finale came out 6 years ago? Like, did you feel that the story wasn't complete? Were you left questioning what was going to happen to Jesse?
No, I was totally. I think it's so hard for a show to end in a good way where the fans are left satisfied.
Yeah.
And I was left super happy after Breaking Bad ended. I never thought that I needed it, but again, I have such faith in Vince Gilligan and his writing and his character sort of building and his world building, and the fact that we got more, I did not complain. As I was watching it, part of me kept thinking, I'd say I'm maybe a third of the way through, and I could feel myself thinking, I don't know if I need this, but I'm so happy I have it.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of these side stories are maybe not super consequential to the greater sort of arc of whatever this world is, but I'm happy we have it, and I'm happy it's like coming from an official voice, and we're seeing these characters that we maybe thought we would have never seen again, and we're seeing them. It felt like Pulp Fiction Breaking Bad. The time jumps. It's sort of just like a slice of life, a day in the life of Jesse Pinkman, and I absolutely love it.
Kind of a pivotal day, though. It's not really like a slice of life. I mean, it's a big day.
Yeah,
a
for
big
sure.
couple days, really.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we?
Well, I want to. What do you think, Gia?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I thought it was great. I thought it totally captured the same tone as Breaking Bad. Definitely, like, I think we got Walt's story, but throughout the series of Breaking Bad, it became Jesse's story as much as it was Walt's. And so
Right.
getting to follow through on some of the open ends there was cool. I thought it was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, just really quick, when it ended, I felt like the story was complete, but again, like I said, going back through it this time, I did want more, and I was glad that we got it, and I'm glad that we're finally getting closure for two other characters in other platforms. Like we have the Better Call Saul show, which we presume at the end of it, when we do the flash forwards to where he's at post all the Heisenberg stuff, we'll get closure with that character, and now we're also getting closure with Jesse and
No Saul.
No.
We'll talk about maybe some implications where Saul's at in this at this time in the movie, but yeah, I'm glad we had it. But when the show originally ended, I honestly thought that was it, and I was totally fine with that. And it's like you were, it's like I did not need this, but I'm glad we have more.
I love that we don't, like, again, I care about these characters so much, and I love that there's no more sort of speculation. Now it's all canon. Like we are now like we have seen the end. He's in Alaska now. We presume he's going to be fine. He has a different identity. He's going to start his new life up there. And that was always the worry for me, where like I care about this guy so much, and we've seen him go through so much shit.
Yeah.
We've seen him witness so many people that he's loved die right in front of him. We've seen him kill people, and we've seen the emotional trauma and how that has impacted him throughout the whole series. And the fact that there was light at the end of the tunnel, and it's in Alaska, and it seems like everything's gonna be fine. So like again, like it feels so weird to care so much about a fictional character, but man, I fucking love him, dude. And like, just like Skinny Pete said, you're my fucking hero, dude.
My fucking hero,
God
bro.
damn, what a great moment. Yeah.
Are there any other stories in this universe that you want to know? Like, we've got Better Call Saul, and then we've got El Camino. Like, most people are dead at this point. Like, are there any prequels or sequels that you're waiting on? Anything else?
I just want a 5-minute short of what the fuck happened to my boy Huel. Where is he?
Cool. Yes.
We got no follow-up with him, and it was so upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, did you see all the social stuff Netflix was posting throughout the day?
Yeah, like they retweeted my tweet. They were retweeting, or the Breaking Bad account at least was retweeting a bunch of tweets about, we better see Huel. Like, I'm so excited to see what happened to Huel.
Yeah.
Nothing,
Well,
man.
they were just posting videos. I don't know if you follow the, I believe it was either Breaking Bad's account or
No.
Netflix's account, but two different times yesterday. I believe 24 hours prior to the movie and then like 12 hours prior, or maybe 3 hours prior, something like that. They were just releasing videos of Huel in that same room, like walking around, just kind of pacing.
Wait, what room?
In the room that we last saw Huel in that
Yeah.
apartment, like, living room or whatever. And it was just videos of him kind of walking around and pacing around. And I'm shocked we didn't see him at all. But
Well, he's heavily featured in Better Call Saul, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know what happens to him. next.
Yeah, post Breaking
So
Bad.
we don't care about Skylar. We don't care about Marie.
I think that
Because they're the only people left, right?
I feel like involving them would have been a little too ham-fisted, especially since their connection to Jesse wasn't really there.
Yeah.
but not even just for this movie. Would you want to see a follow-up? with them at all?
No, not really.
no.
I think it would be interesting to get another like an idea for a short for Huel. I think it'd be interesting to see a short with Skylar, just to see if one of Walt's last acts was to leave all of his money with Gray Matter and to tell them, told them, hey, I want you to set up a trust for Walter Jr. He gets all of this on his 18th birthday, and you're gonna say it's because of basically guilt and whatnot that you're giving him this money. And so I would want to see just like a little short just to see if that paid off, or maybe they did come out and they're like, hey, like he threatened us with this money. We're going to call his bluff. We don't think the assassins that he paid are real. I would be interested to see that. But besides that, I'm
So only
fine.
as it relates to kind of Walt's legacy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I want to see how Walt's daughter deals with all that clout.
Yep.
It's like, you the son of a,
Ooh,
or
Yeah.
daughter of
grows
a
up and whatnot,
legend,
yeah.
and you don't have that same hatred that Walt Jr. is going to have.
Right.
Which
Right.
I also didn't really kind of agree with. I was like, man, that's your dad. I understand Hank was dope, but that's your pops, bro.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
you got to always hear him out.
Rewatching again, I spent most of yesterday rewatching everything, and I was just catching up. And I kind of wished I hadn't, because I don't feel like anything. I felt like I was going to need a lot. There was going to be a lot of pertinent information that maybe I didn't remember. But I feel like all of the flashbacks that we got were all kind of
Gave just enough.
We know what's happening. There wasn't a whole lot of like winks and nods to the audience and be like, oh, that's from that one episode where he opened the drawers. That there wasn't really a whole lot of that. And I felt like I wish I hadn't rewatched it, only so that I could have had that feeling of, holy shit, I didn't expect to see this cameo.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see this character to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And because I just saw them.
Right.
Because for the last like 2 weeks, that's all I've been seeing.
So you weren't waiting for 6 years for these people.
Exactly.
To
Yeah.
return.
Exactly. I kind of wish I hadn't done that, but it was still awesome. And yeah, that moment, that phone call where he's trying to give Walt Jr. the money, and he's just die already. It's like, oh man, that breaks my heart.
I am glad that I watched it just to get a refresher of where just Jesse is at right now, you know, of how long he's been in captivity and just his mental space. I do understand your point though, but I think just the Jesse narrative alone, I think it was worth the rewatch for myself at least.
Say you want this. Love him. All right, it's time for the plot.
I think
don't
it's time
have
for
a
the
song.
plot.
You don't have a song?
I just come
on.
I was gonna say this in review will stand alone. The baby.
Oh, yeah,
Blues
yeah,
song.
do
And
it,
I was
do it,
gonna
do
say
it.
Boss Babies something, but I couldn't really think
come
of
with
like
a rhyme.
Yeah,
all right. Well, you
whatever.
gave me something. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it may have been 6 long years for us, but it's only been a few moments for Jesse Pinkman. But before we get to where he is at after the aftermath of Walt and the Nazis,
It's time for some ads.
we get a flashback with Jesse and Mike talking about both talking about them leaving Walt and the meth business. Mike gives Jesse the idea of going to Alaska, which is sets up what he's going to do in this movie, but is also a callback to when Jesse was originally going to leave and go with the disappear. He was like, well, what about Alaska? Could I go to Alaska? So it's cool to see that was Mike planting a seed.
And it was one little glimmer of hope and positivity in Jesse's eyes, where he's leaving that office and, yeah, Alaska's good. And it's like, oh, like, God, this might end up okay. And then Huel has to steal the weed from him.
And then before we cut to the current day, Mike tells Jesse that putting things right is the one thing that Jesse cannot do. But then we cut to Jesse driving away from the aftermath of Walt's last act and is immediately met with cops. He pulls away quickly to avoid them and drives away. We then get a weird cut to what... So I wrote my notes just like as pure reactions. We get a weird cut to what seems to be a scene Vince Gilligan didn't have time to shoot, so he just added a weird CGI scene to make up for it. But no, it's our good old friends Skinny Pete and Badger doing what they do best, hanging out, goofing off, and apexing, whatever that means, and playing
I was going to ask you gamers,
games.
Because I'm not a gamer. What is apexing?
I think it's a driving term. I think it's like when you get to the top of the turn.
It's like
a
apex
drifting thing.
of a triangle is the top of the... Right.
Yeah, but I think it's like a drifting term
Okay.
because they were playing a racing game, and it's like when you get to the I don't fucking know. But again, this was just like it reminds me how at the start of most Pixar movies we see the characters in their element. And this is Badger and Skinny Pete's element. They're playing games. They're making dumb jokes to each other. Like it's like we're right back to it, man.
It was such a weird cut though.
Like we never left.
When the car crashes, I was like, "This is weird. Why?"
It's just like it's the video game.
Yeah, it's the video game. But I thought it was like a weird CGI like thing that they didn't have time to film. I was
when
like,
the car
"Ooh,
wrecks,
no."
I was like, "That is the lowest poly rock I've ever seen in my life." I was like, "Oh, it's an Xbox 360 game. I
But
get it."
shout out to the movie for using Xbox 360 controllers, keeping it historically accurate since the Xbox One had not come out yet. Jesse arrives and Pete doesn't recognize him at first, which reminds us how long Jesse has been missing from their lives because honestly, what do they have going on besides Jesse? First order of business, Jesse needs to hide the El Camino. There's a little moment of Badger and Pete helping him out there, and Badger drives the car into the basketball hoop. Just classic Pete and Badge
One of my
banter right
favorite
there.
lines happens during the sequence where Skinny Pete is making fun of Badger for being big, and he says that he's sized for love. And I feel like I'm sized for love, like a smaller love. But like it was like just very...
It's a very
cute.
Badger line.
Yeah, it was adorable.
Pete looks over at Jesse as he sleeps like a creepy brother. Definitely not a hot younger brother like Kevin's. We get a classic Breaking Bad time lapse. We see Los Pollos has been turned into a Twisters, whatever that is. Pete and Badge are watching who I believe is Hank's boss, Raimi, doing like he's on the TV giving the news of all that went down at the site.
Did you notice that the woman next to him, I don't think she has a line, but I just was catching up on Better Call Saul. So the woman next to him is the DA or the ADA who Kim goes head to head with that that I think it's Huel's case. Remember with all the postcards and all that stuff?
Interesting.
She doesn't have a line because no women in this movie have lines.
Wow.
But anyway.
Oh, wow.
Except for the vacuum store lady. Anyway.
Gosh.
And Mrs. Pinkman, but...
I'm thinking of Kristen Ritter.
and that's
like
true.
one word.
Yeah, at the end.
It's like
it's
one
all
word.
right.
But Hank's boss, Raimi, is giving a press release on the Walter Nazi showdown, and they do not, Pete and Badge do not know what to think of it. Jesse wakes up and doesn't remember where he is. He's definitely dealing with some major PTSD, but Pete and Badge calm him down. Pete gets some clothes for Jesse, gives him some of his clothes, but not Badger's clothes because Badger can't help that he's sized for love. Pete and Badge are the best brothers you could ever have and just want to take care of Jesse. You can see what they heard on the news makes them super worried as they lead Jesse to the shower. Jesse showers with his gun and has another flashback of being tortured. Really, really just like intense stuff of just the
a great cut.
memory of the water hitting on his back. Just
Editing was fantastic.
Yeah. Jesse shaves his head against the advice of Pete and has a plan on where to go next. Jesse calls good old Joe to help him get rid of the El Camino, and Joe does it for free because he knows that Jesse is down on his luck and just needs some help.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking
Can I
Joe.
jump in
He's
real quick?
yeah.
The weasel sounding guy from Billy Madison.
Oh, that's who he's from. Every time he popped up on the show, I'm like, I know you from somewhere. Jesus.
What's up, Booger?
G?
I was so upset when he cut his hair. I can't believe he did that, man.
I was, but I was
I
saying,
thought-
like, I think it's helpful when you're doing flashbacks to have different, like, really distinct hairstyles.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even though the wigs are terrible.
I know.
Oh my
we have to
God.
wig out
We
later.
got a very
yeah.
special episode of Wiggin' Out planned for you.
But they were also terrible in the one of the final flashbacks at the end of Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah, where they do that
go
shoot,
back.
that
Oh,
scene.
right.
Yeah.
They go back, and at this point, it's I'm not trying to. We all gain weight as human beings,
Yeah.
but it's obvious in some of the flashbacks in Breaking Bad where it goes back and it's like
Aaron Paul's-
Jesse is a little bit thicker now,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Oh.
totally fine, but
And
like
normal.
And the hair doesn't. The wig is like so terrible.
Yeah, it was like very thin
Yes.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I was like, yeah,
weird.
that's not Jesse's
No.
hair. Where did I leave off? Yeah, Joe does it for free. He checks the car for bugs, and his gadgets detect that the LoJack has been activated, so the cops be coming. Joe gets the fuck out of there. Pete, the better brother of the Pete and Badge crew, comes up with a plan to get Jesse out. They all trade cars and give Jesse cash to like the good boys they are, and head their separate ways. Pete gives Jesse his token beanie, and Jesse takes a key off the ring of the El Camino keys. Jesse asks Pete why he's doing all of this, and Pete responds, "Dude, you're my hero and shit."
Hell yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
Pete is the fucking real
Yeah.
one in this movie, guys.
And it's at this point where we don't see Pete and Badger ever again, and that's when it
Yeah, that
sinks
was like
into.
our good
That's when it
vibe.
sinks into me of like, that's what this movie is.
This is his goodbye to everybody.
That's what this movie is gonna be,
Yeah.
and not. I mean, it's our goodbye to them too.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
we're
Yeah.
since a lot of these characters we may not have seen towards the end of Breaking Bad. Like this is not only Jesse seeing them for the last time, but sometimes the last time he sees them are in flashbacks.
Right.
But this is kind of like the viewers' last time to see a lot of these, pivotal roles in this universe. So-
Yeah, because similar to Jesse, the last time we see them in the finale, it's kind of
Yeah.
like whatever. It's a fun cameo,
Yeah.
but
also
it's not a proper
during all these
goodbye.
interactions, my immediate thought was, before we sort of leave them, before we leave Pete and Badger, my immediate thought was, this is going to be a Jesse, Pete, and Badger thing.
Yeah.
Like a whole adventure with them.
Yeah. And then they're gone, and it's like,
Oh no.
Okay, maybe not. But I kind of have a feeling what this is going to be.
Yeah. So then we see Jesse sees the cavalry head for Pete's house. We get another flashback of him in the cage, and Hitler's wet dream, Meth Damon, does his creepy, polite, good cop thing. Because Jesus Christ, Todd is a weird little fucker. Shout out to the way they shot this scene at first to hide the fact that Todd is also looks really, really different.
Jesse
since
Plemons is a big dude now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I've known that because I watched
Fargo.
Fargo.
But also he was in Game Night as well as the neighbor cop. Yeah, he looks pretty different in that
So
because they make him look really creepy.
I just know Jesse Plemons to be a bigger dude now.
Yeah.
And so when he is first hovering over the tarp, I'm like, that's how they're gonna do this.
Yeah.
That they're gonna
like
do
the Tarkin.
They're gonna do the
Yeah.
Tarkin thing. This is how they're hiding his weight gain, and then they sort of ease you into it, where
Yeah.
they cover his face up with the bars.
Yeah.
And it's shot in a really interesting way, and then it just becomes Jesse and Todd doing shit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, maybe it's Jesse and Todd.
Maybe it's their goodbye.
Yeah, we see just their sort of little hijinks, but it's really great.
He gives Jesse a cigarette in the weirdest way possible and tries to have a normal conversation like he isn't the most demented piece of shit who has ever existed. Todd mentions Jack and the boys are doing some vacation at the
Water
lake with
skiing.
some water skiing and takes Jesse on a nice field trip and pets Jesse like the weird little fucked up freak he is to put a top on his El Camino, but Todd needs help with something else. else. Is it therapy? Well, we'll find out in a bit, because we go back to Jesse in the present, laying low in Pete's car and listening to the news. We get a little moment here where Lydia is confirmed dead, confirmed to be dying, and there seems to be no help for her. And Walter White is confirmed dead, and Jesse seems to be have some conflicted feelings over it. You know, he definitely, this is a man who emotionally abused and tortured him for a long time, but at the end of the day still saved his life. And you see that in his face, where there's a brief moment of like, thank God, but also like, that this person was important in my life. I really loved that moment.
Bullshit. Walt should have never been shot. Like, upon rewatching it, I'm looking I'm looking at where they're lying, and I'm looking at, and they cut to the outside shot where the machine gun is shooting through the walls. There's no bullet holes near the ground. Like, unless he got ricocheted or something.
It could have ricocheted.
Yeah, but would that be a fatal blow? You know?
Where it hit him.
Yeah, if we're thinking if it's a ricochet, it would go through the back, right? But then we saw the wound in his front, so that thing like went through him.
Those are big ass
Allegedly.
bullets
They were big LMGs.
I like that in that same news thing. They were like, they don't know where he got this insane gun.
Yeah. They were like, this is completely like a militaristic weapon, weapon of death. You watched it too, Kev? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
How'd you like it, Kev?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cool. I did think it was a little like fairy tale-y at the end, but it's like that is what I wanted.
That's fair.
That is what I wanted from Pikmin.
Where did I leave off? So see him listening to the news. Jesse then pulls up to the spot Todd took him to for their fun little field trip. Jesse must have loved it so much that he wanted to reminisce over his good times with his best bud. He sneaks into Todd's apartment, which has already been searched in the most tense way ever. And this is just the shot of him trying to sneak in, and the landlord or the nosy neighbor, is slowly like watering plants and coming up. And then we get a great cut when he goes into the apartment, and then a cut back to the flashback where he's like peeking in the hole, because for a second you think, oh, he's making sure that dude's walked away, but we go back to Jesse and Todd on their field trip. Todd comes in after he talks to the nosy neighbor, and he's like, how do you like my place? I don't know, it looks like what the 60s thought the future was going to look like, you weirdo. Todd needs Jesse to hide Tonya, his cleaning lady, who he choked to death with his belt, like the sexual deviant he is. Turns out she found Todd's money, because his best idea to hide it is where me and all my friends used to hide our weed and pipes in high school.
When he put back on that belt, didn't your like stomach turn? Ugh.
I mean, well, it was
You don't waste the belt though. I mean, like that looked like
you don't want to waste a belt.
It was perfect. Like, that detail is such a perfect kind of like, this is who Todd is, and we know this. We know that in Breaking Bad, where he has witnessed people dying, he shoots a kid, and it's just so ho hum. Like, there's the moment that, again, I was just rewatching it, and they all of the neo-Nazi skinheads or his uncle and stuff, they're all watching the news, and they see the news about, or no, they're watching Jesse's confession tape.
Right.
And Jesse's saying, and then Todd shot this kid, and they cut to Todd, and he's like, he's got a proud look, like, he's talking about me, I shot him.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And this dude is just so fucked up, but Jesse Plemons is such a fucking good actor.
He's really good.
And he plays the role so well of like, the reason why, it reminds me a lot of Gus Fring, where the reason why I am so dangerous is because I come off, not that he's coming off in a nice way, he just is a nice guy, but he's fucked up,
demented as
he's not faking this. He's not faking this nice character. He genuinely thinks that this is how I should interact with society. And hey, I'm a nice guy, but also I'm gonna choke her to death, not because she's gonna rat on me or stealing, but just because she found it. Yeah, and that's just what you got to do. And I got to take my belt back. What a psychopath! I love him. I love him.
What a psychopath!
He's such a great character, dude.
Hey man, so as soon as we got introduced to that nosy neighbor, I was like, I don't understand why Jesse's not pulling a like, fuck this. Now I'm going all out, because what, he's gonna get shot, then Todd's gonna basically get himself caught.
Right. Because that's
he
what
knows
he uses.
Eyes are on you now.
Yeah.
And this is the first eyes that haven't been in the neo-Nazi camp or whatever. So I feel like he should have took advantage.
That's
of
a good point.
But and we'll kind of breach that topic again a little bit. But I think it's just because where Jesse is at right now, where everything has been taken away from him, and there's no glimmer of hope. He feels like no one's coming to save him, and he doesn't have an end goal anymore because of that.
Also, like, as a lover of true crime and sort of like having read a lot about like what it means to be a sociopath and how you can manipulate like your people who are in your capture. One of the tactics, it's something you see Todd do, which is
Pepperoni pizza.
Is kindness. It's giving him the cigarette, because Jesse at those moments feels like he might actually be safer. Like he's getting taken care of just enough that there's a little bit of certainty that he might be kept safe, as opposed to like trying to run away and trying to escape.
Because
Whereas
there's no assurance.
There's
there.
no assurance. And so it's like just enough kindness to keep him like a little bit
Chasing carrot at the end of it.
Exactly. Like thinking, oh, he sees me at least as a human.
Right.
Also, at that point, like right when he gave him the cigarette and was taking him out, he was like, "Hey, don't try anything. Like, don't try to run away, or we're gonna go after the kid."
Brock,
Right.
Yeah.
But we do see him, later on, without spoiling anything, reach for a gun later. So it's like
that is true.
That's just a couple hours later, right?
Yeah.
Although-
maybe the bodies, all these things, but
Yeah.
I still think we didn't do anything new to have him like jump over, but we'll see.
That's fair. Jesse puts the money away for Todd and notices that he has a spider like the kid he killed in cold blood. And snow globes? The fuck, you weirdo. We cut back to Jesse in the present.
So in the snow globe,
Yeah.
I thought that was him and Lydia because it looked kind of like handmade.
What? It's not even Star Wars in review.
No, wrong show.
Stay on your own show, you freak.
No, we're not.
Go back to Tatooine. Oh, God.
I know Jesse.
No, you don't. Was he a small pumpkin?
I know since he was a small stoner. Oh, yeah.
No, you don't.
You remember? You remember? He used to smoke bongs the size of a pumpkin, eh?
Oh, my God.
Quit trying. He goes around everybody.
What about the Walt Jr. always eating breakfast?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
He's just saying what he remembers. God damn it.
All right.
Breaking Bad, what a show! Hey,
Yeah. Where do you watch it, Watto?
Why?
Where do you watch it?
Why?
God, the eyes. The eyes are so...
Ah, man.
All
I
right.
look around for a Walt hat, I can't find it. I look around for some tiny whities, I can't find it.
Oh my God,
You
thank
get
God.
Waddle,
All right, bye, Watto.
hey. You know.
I do
Thanks
know.
for visiting us, Watto.
We do know. There's a pumpkin.
The car wash.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Is it me or has he gotten older?
He's lumbering around, man. His joints are weak.
What a psychopath. We cut to Jesse in the present, and we see that all of Todd's money is gone. It seems that Todd moved it before Jesse killed him, and the world became a better place. It was a good idea, Jess, but you're kind of fucked now. Jesse does some sleuthing, feeds Todd Spider for some reason, and gets distracted by a TV from another apartment that is playing an interview with Jesse's parents. And the only thing that they want to say to him is that he should turn himself in.
Like, they
Suck
didn't
a
even
shit.
say they loved him.
I mean, there was already a complicated relationship in this show, right? Like I think the last time he even sees his parents is
When he's buying the house?
The weed
No.
thing, right?
No,
Where he
I think
gives-
it's after he buys the house. I think I
Isn't it
forget.
the weed part with the little brother?
No, that's like the first time we meet them, but then he buys his
okay.
aunt's house back. That might have been the last time we see them, but yeah, it's still very
Yeah, where they're like,
complicated.
you can't go into the house, Jesse.
Yeah.
You can't go in. And he's like, I bought it.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought
fuck
that was
you.
reverse order.
yeah.
a great
So yeah, it's very complicated, and obviously there's a lot of emotions going on there. And the last time they saw him, he kind of fucked them over, right? And so now that they learn about all of this horrible shit that he has done without context of the things that he went through with Walt, right? I can only imagine being a parent and learning that about your child. Yeah, it was hard. It was really
Yeah.
hard. We cut back to Jesse and Todd's not so excellent adventure as Jesse hurls poor Tonya off of the apartment complex. I know, really, just like,
What
come
a
on,
loud
Like, this
thud.
is like a
y'all
bad
couldn't have just
plan.
like carried her down
Yeah.
together. Come on.
You know how someone weighs that's dead and not helpful and like moving? And that seemed like that was a very practical solution for that problem.
If
That's
you have
hella
two
hot.
people though.
I contemplated
Doing
doing
it
that
in
when
public.
I contemplated doing that with my I had like a giant
dead.
50
Yeah, where's
inch
this going?
TV. I had like when I first moved to Austin, I lived in like my first apartment with all my friends. I had this giant CRT, like 50-inch, Kevin. The thing weighed like 7,000 pounds, dude. And I was so close to just like lobbing it out of the balcony because I didn't want to take it back down. I couldn't, right? And so I just left it there in the apartment. Moral of the story is leave Tonya in the...
They pile her in the back of Todd's El Camino, and a song starts playing that makes it seem like this awful situation could turn into a fun adventure where Jesse and Todd become good pals despite their differences. Catch the Breaking Bad Odd Couple spinoff Fridays at 7. They go for a drive, and Todd immediately ruins the song because he's singing too, probably thinking about Lydia. He asks the truck that passes him to honk, but they don't give him the satisfaction. Good. Jesse is laying in the back with Tonya. It's a classic will they, won't they situation. Unfortunately, it's a won't they situation because Tonya is dead, and Jesse is digging her grave. We get some good old classic Gillikin nature shots. He should really direct some nature shows, you know what I'm saying?
God,
just like
beautiful.
the landscape and all of
The
this
show
stuff.
is shot so gorgeously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
and-
before we find out what happens, I'm still thinking about Watto, man.
I know. He freaks me out.
Somebody guess.
Let's see, where did we leave off? Todd wants to do a eulogy for I, Tonya, but Jesse, like all of us, thought the face CGI in that movie was really bad and refuses. Todd wants more cigarettes and asks Jesse to grab more from the glove compartment. Jesse finds a gun in there and thinks, man, I think he's asking to be killed. Todd bargains for his life with pizza and beer, and honestly, I love pizza so much, I would
Don't you
be
feel
inclined...
like it's the pepperoni diplomacy
Yeah,
act?
so
like, that
Jesse
saved his
remembers
life. Yeah.
Andy's pepperoni pizza diplomacy act
Yeah.
and gives
Of
Todd back the
2019,
gun. Yeah. But yeah, to go back to this moment where he has this kind of excited like moment of power where he could get away. I think it really is what you were saying earlier of just the little glimmer of hope and being taken care of, because there's nothing that he can do if he kills him. Like, where does he go? Right there's just there's no hope at the end of the tunnel if he goes that route. So it's a weird kind of victim in power scene right here that I really appreciated. We cut back to Jesse tearing Todd's apartment apart for the money, and we get the coolest shot from above the apartment, showing
What
the
an
whole
awesome
thing
shot.
with multiple Jessies in a time lapse, like searching. So like it took me a minute to realize what I was looking at, and it was just
great.
like so. It was. I like
Playing Hotline Miami all of a sudden. It was so badass.
It was
dude.
so fucking cool. I don't know. I would love to learn how they did that, but it took me a second to realize what I was looking at. And right when it cut away, I was like, "Oh no, that was so cool!" And I had to rewind.
My mind
and-
immediately went to, did they recreate this whole apartment like in a warehouse and then just shoot it from the top view? Was there is there CG involved in the scene? Was that
Yeah.
only CG? Like,
Yeah.
it just seemed like
a lot of production questions I have.
so awesome. I bet you all the
involving-
budget went to that.
Yeah, that and the explosion that we'll get to in a bit. Jesse gives up hope of being able to find the money and bangs his head against the fridge, which makes a weird sound. Aha! The money is hidden in the fridge, but as soon as Jesse finds the money and only gets a wad of it, the cops show up. But are they cops? One of them picks up a snow globe that Todd seems to have made of himself and Lydia sitting in a teacup. What the fuck, dude? You're so weird. You're making snow globes, and two, you have just the weirdest obsession with Lydia.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was. It took me a second to realize, but then when I noticed it was the teacup, and then Lydia, like the woman is like wearing like the blue dress, I was like, oh shit, this is like a weird tribute to her.
Yeah,
for some
I noticed
reason.
because it was just such a crappy snow globe. So I was like, this
Right.
looks handmade. So yeah.
I think this is where I think all of this sequence is where the movie is the most Breaking Bad.
Yes.
I feel like all of the tension building, the obviously the plot
Who
twist
are
that you're
the-
gonna get to, like
Yeah.
all of that stuff is just like, this is Breaking Bad, and they
Right.
fuck it. Like this whole scene is just like, this is what you could show people when you're trying to sell the show, you know?
Right. One of the cops happens upon Jesse, and he says, "I'm no cop killer. You be cool, I'll be cool." The cop calls to his lieutenant, and the other dude immediately knows something is up. Again, this is me reacting kind of as I'm watching. Okay, they are cops, but they got me thinking several ways. Oh shit, no they aren't. They bluffed Jesse into giving himself up, but once that dude looks for something to tie Jesse up, you know they aren't cops. They got me twice, where I was like, okay, they are cops when they first come in, and then they close the door, and they're like, oh shit, this place is torn apart. And I was like, maybe they're not. And then when the one dude like happens upon Jesse, I was like, oh oh no, they are. They got to be cops. But when they have him on the floor, I was like, fuck no, he just made a big mistake.
Before they handcuff him, I was just sold that they were cops the whole time. I thought that when he calls out Lieutenant and the guy goes, oh, something's wrong.
Yeah.
My immediate thought was, oh, this is how they talk to each other in code.
See,
that's what cool Greg and I thought too.
Yeah.
It was a back and forth of like maybe like you were saying earlier before we were on the show of maybe he knows he's not a lieutenant, so it's weird of like why are you calling me a lieutenant? Yeah. But then it's also like if they're faking being cops, he also like knows he's not a lieutenant, and so it's like a weird because they set up. Like 30 seconds before, they're calling each other by their actual names,
right.
And then so the moment of lieutenant is like, oh fuck, what is happening right now?
When he gets the
rope or whatever,
the wire, I believe, and like, yo, where are the handcuffs, yo? And then the redhead guy goes, oh shit, or whatever the hell he said. That's when I'm like, oh, these are fucking cops. What a moment, dude.
It seems to be two goons from Todd and Jack's band of Nazis. Again, this is what I'm thinking while I'm watching it. Jesse convinces them not to kill him if he shows them where the money is. Jesse started, and then we get a moment where one of the cops has to go deal with the annoying neighbor. So it's just Jesse and one of the cops, or fake cops. He starts taking his half of the money and calls the dude's bluff when he threatens to kill him. And I love this, where he's like, I'm dead anyway if I don't get this money. So what are you going to do? You're going to shoot me? Again, it's what you're talking about of why he didn't do this to Todd earlier, right? Because I think now he is out of the victim mindset, and now he's just like, I am ready to do whatever I can to get the fuck out of here. So
it's do or die.
Yeah, it's do or die. So if you want to shoot me right now, you're going to have to deal with everybody in this apartment. Fucking try it. I loved that moment right there. It reminded me less of Jesse in the show and more of Walt, of just like playing this kind of mind game with other people, and it's definitely like little things that Jesse picked up on in his time during the show.
It might be best to tread lightly.
Yeah, exactly. Jesse talks about he's dead anyway if he doesn't get this money. Nazi Goon 1 tells Jesse he only gets a third and to not push his luck. They sneak out. Jesse asks for his gun back, and the Nazi Goon tells him, fuck you, go buy one. Jesse notices the truck they came in is from Candy Welding and gets a slight flashback and realizes who he just dealt with. We don't really get it's just like a quick thing of like, oh, like this quick memory. So obviously they have met each other, especially when the guy responds is like, I thought like I was wondering when you were going to recognize me.
Which makes sense to why they were covering his mouth during all of the interrogation. Or not interrogation, but during their little back and forth. They framed the shot to where he's like this, and it's he's talking to Jesse, and he's like, put him down, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah,
and they're covering all of his face, and my immediate thought was, are they doing this for some ADR reason? Maybe they didn't know what lines they were going to put in there, but it's obviously that they were like trying to hide
identity.
His identity. Yeah.
And that guy was not in a Breaking Bad episode. Like, those are flashbacks shot for the purposes of this movie.
Yeah,
okay,
so
I haven't rewatched it.
It happens during the timeline, right? Because we get it's Granite State. It takes place over the course of like 6 months.
Right.
And so there's a lot that we just don't see.
Okay.
Of Jesse. We then get some classic Breaking Bad scores. Jesse drives away of just some great kind of background music that they would use throughout the show that I really loved. We find out that Jesse is looking for the disappearer and is checking every appliance store in the ABQ. He crosses Best Quality Vacuum off the list, but then discovers the red van that approached him when he was originally going to leave Albuquerque. Jesse walks in and tries to get Old Man Vacuum to break. He eventually does, but OMV decides that he's owed the last pickup that Jesse didn't go to, on top of what Jesse would owe for this current job.
So in this scene was one of my favorite lines when he's like, dude, you're the guy. You're the guy.
I'm
95% sure you're the guy. I was like, that's great.
And he's playing the scene just like this, again, classic Breaking Bad, like Gus Fring, like Walt when he's running the car wash, where it's like, I'm just a businessman. Like, I don't know why you're coming here with all this money. I'm just doing my thing. And it's just like the moment where he's trying to think of the password. He's like, I don't fucking remember the password, man. Just give me a break. I know you. It's you.
It's a whatever part for a Hoover vacuum. I forgot the exact code word. But I love the actor. I love. I love his.
He's great.
I love how like coy he is.
Yeah.
It's just such a cool little back and forth between two people that we've never seen talk to each other. You know?
Right, and almost very deadpan in a way.
Like we've seen we've seen the vacuum guy talk to Walt several times.
Right.
Which, by the way, that one scene where they're in the cabin and he's like, just 2 more hours?
Yeah, he's like, I'll give you 10 grand, 2 more hours.
And he's like, 1 hour. And
Yeah.
it's like, all right. So they play cards. Like, oh, what a heartbreaking scene. But yeah, we've seen this character talk a lot to Walt. We've just never seen him and Jesse interact. So it's one of those cool, like...
It's like when
again,
Jesse and Marie like kind of first
Yeah.
meet in the
Right.
show. You're
Again,
like,
it's a
wow.
very much like a fan fiction thing. Like
Yeah.
like these 2 people that I never thought would ever interact are here now.
Yeah. Jesse tries to give everything he has, but it's not enough. And OMV isn't having it. From where I sit, you made your own luck, as did your partner, as did your lawyer. So just a really quick theory thing, and I might be reading too much into this line right now, right? He might just be simply referencing, like, they made their own luck by having to come to me, right? But we're also in the aftermath of Walt, and everybody knows Walt's dead and whatnot. So he talks about, like, he made his own luck, but then he also specifically brings up Saul in a subtle way. We don't know when the flash forwards in Better Call Saul happen. So did something also happen to Saul in the kind of time jump and whatnot? Like, I know I'm probably reading way too much into it.
I don't think so. I think it's more of just like, hey, Saul had it going fine.
Yeah.
And now look at him. He's off managing
a Cinnabon.
A Cinnabon, you know. So I don't think that was a, hey, you know, Saul's fucked up now.
Yeah.
Even though he kind of is.
yeah.
But yeah, I didn't
because
read into that.
there are just some scenes in the flash forwards where he has some close run-ins of possibly getting recognized, possibly getting caught.
Yeah.
So,
But he has like a fake social security card, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like he went through like
all
the things to
Yeah.
disappear.
But I could kind of see that too, what you're saying, because the conversation they were having in the car was about him being a slave, right? He's like, you've heard what happened to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, not like you've heard I've done bad things, and I'm like, he's saying I'm a victim. So the fact that he got replied to by the vacuum guy, like,
Yeah.
well, you know, the other guys, for me, shit happened to them. I can see it all relating.
Yeah, and I do love the moment where he's like tearing up. I've seen like 2 women that I've fallen in love with killed in front of me, and he's like, are you trying to pull on heartstrings right now? Like, I'm not the dude to do that to.
Yeah.
Like, go fuck yourself.
But hold on, before we move on, how do you guys feel about him? Because we know he's cutthroat from when he was dealing with Walter in the cabin. So he was like 50,000 or whatever for me to play one game with you or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But just that $1,800 or whatever it was for him to be like, yo, Jesse, it's so hot for him in the streets, and he's like, yo, go out there and get 1,800, then come back. Like, when you have double the money, I don't know.
I totally understand why, because I think that him going out on that initial run for Jesse, before Jesse bounces and realizes that Huel stole his weed, and then that Huel also stole the rice and cigarette. I think him bouncing on that situation put him in a lot of risk.
Right.
And I think he sees it as like, look, I put my neck out on the line the first time. Like, obviously you paid a lot of money, but the first time I went to go pick you up when you were first going to bounce and leave town, and then you left and you sort of walked out on this transaction, you put me through a lot of like, I think he sees it as like, I risked my shit going out for you, and then you bounced.
So now
like,
you got to risk
fuck
your
you.
shit. Yeah. And especially because they set up and the show where Saul's like, you get one shot with this guy. So the fact that he's even playing with the idea of giving Jesse another shot, I think is a lot of leeway for this character.
And it shows that how strict he is. Like the fact
It's transactional.
Yeah.
It is services for money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the fact that the reason why Jesse initially leaves is the fact that he has weed in his pocket, and then Huel has to steal it. The fact that this guy's not cool with weed, like, shows me that like something that minimal. Now, granted, this is back in the day, so
like
the laws are a little
2010-ish,
stronger, right?
yeah.
But the fact that he's not cool with like somebody having weed on them just shows me that like anything else is a complete like, you're fucking me right now. Like, this is a
besides
like
his
a personal
business,
affront.
he's a straight arrow in that kind of realm. Jesse refused to leave, but bitch ass OMV turns into a snitch and calls the cops. What do we feel about snitches, Cool G?
Oh, it's not acceptable.
Right? It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. But I love that Jesse thinks that he's bluffing for a second. He's like, no, they ask you to fucking stay on the line and stuff, and you have just as much to lose as I do. And right when he kind of finishes, you just see the shot of the cops pulling up right behind him. It's so
for
good.
a second there, though, I thought
he had figured it out.
I thought it was one of those Breaking Bad moments. Like, I thought it was a Walt challenging Gus Fring, or I thought it was one of those like, you're not gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you need me. And then Gus is like, you're right, I do need you, or whatever. I thought it was honestly one of those moments where Jesse had figured it all out. And what I was hoping for, instead of the cop car, I was hoping to hear audio from the phone and be like, "Sir, are you still there?"
Right.
That's what I was hoping for, man.
That'd be hella funny.
The cops show up hella fast, and Jesse gets the fuck out of there. OMV covers for him, so maybe he's not so bad after
was cool.
all.
I like that.
Yeah, where he's like, I'm fucking with you right now just because you're fucking with me, but I'm not going to rat you out kind of situation because I know you're going to want to get out of here and not be seen by the cops.
And if you do get caught, maybe I get ratted out by you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't really know much, right?
Huh?
Doesn't really know much. And
I
the
mean,
straight and arrow guy probably covered his shit.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that like.
Again, the question of why would I come here with all this money kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
Like they would have to look into him and
But with everything Jesse's going through, I think they're like, we got you on so much. The little
fair.
shit you're yapping about.
Yeah.
Like,
That's fair. That's fair. Good point.
Yeah.
G. Even though he's been turned down, Jesse calls OMV and tells him that he will get the rest of his money. Your word is your bond, which is a kind of callback to Jesse. I forget who he's talking to. Oh, I think it's Badger's cousin when they have the RV at his place. He's like, my word is my fucking bond. He always kind of lives by that. We then go to Jesse's parents' house where they get a call from their favorite son because even though he's a meth dealer, that's not as bad as his lame younger brother who smokes shitty weed, plays the oboe or whatever, and is in London on a band trip because he's a spoiled little shit.
I wasn't
Fucking hate that
expecting
kid.
to go back to that other scene. I wasn't expecting this to become. We need to get money to pay the guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the rest of this movie to
Me-
sort of
no.
become that.
Right.
So I was kind of shocked by that. I thought this was just the movie's way of showing, hey, remember this character? Well, now he's gone. You've seen the last of him.
Yeah.
Much like the other cameos. But no, this became a kind of a heist movie almost.
But
money.
and I really liked that too
Yeah.
because when it shows that he's looking for the disappearer, you're like, oh, this makes sense. This is his only way out besides turning himself into the police.
that's what they call him, the disappearer.
I think that's like when I was looking up like what to call him. That was like the only thing
Soul
like
Snatcher.
sites.
Right? The disappearer. That's
Soul
crazy.
Reaver.
I fucking love that. Because Jesse lures his parents out of their house to go pick him up so he can sneak in and find something. One thing that's really cemented in this scene is that the cops in this universe are terrible at keeping an eye on houses. Because like when the fucking Nazis broke into Skylar's house to like, hey, don't talk about Lydia.
man.
Right.
And then this scene
Hard to
where
stomach.
Jesse easily breaks into his own house and you see them kind of like keeping an eye on the house. Like, man, cops are really bad at their jobs in this universe.
Yeah.
Were the cops on shit when Heisenberg got back into his house to talk to Skylar?
Yes, he snuck in. He had to sneak in.
Yeah.
But they were, even that. Like, come on, he could sneak in.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, that's why there was a lot of like fan theories that a lot of that Walt died way earlier.
In the car, right?
Yeah, there
Hell
were
yeah.
theories that Walt died in the car when it was like snowing outside, and that
This is just
everything
kind of,
everything
like-
else is just like a fever dream and just kind of like all like
His,
made up
like his like last kind of like
because
brain.
everything went perfect.
Yeah, right.
And nothing goes perfect for Walt, but like
Yeah.
he was able to sneak in.
But also
the
the
gun
good point-
perfectly killed everybody. You know.
Right.
But the good point of the counter argument there is that he didn't know that Jesse was still cooking meth and whatnot. But also, I forget. Whatever. Let's.
One thing I will just going back to Breaking Bad super fast since we're on the topic.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of the sort of plot holes that is kind of too out there to not ignore is that like Jesse's place is just this safe haven for Walt to always go talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they never keep an eye on him. They never keep
Right.
an eye on his place. The place isn't bugged.
Yeah.
It's always like Walt can just go there and show up at any time and be like, "Yo, Hank knows. We gotta." But it's like no, it's just like this little
Yeah.
safe spot for
Yeah.
some reason, you know.
Yeah, I did always think that was
Plot
weird of,
armor.
like, because especially Jesse was in the attention of Hank for so long.
Yeah.
like,
Right.
Why would they not at least maybe not have Hank on the case because obviously he's way too emotional on that
Yeah.
now, but have some agents kind of keeping tabs on him and whatnot. Jesse uses his birthday as the code to try to get into his parents' safe. I assume just because he does it a couple of times, which doesn't work. So he tries his shitty little brother's birthday, and the safe opens. We see that Jesse. I know that was such like a older sibling kind of moment of like, oh, They've
Like-
moved past me, and they're
Yeah.
using this other child's birthday, which I definitely understand that emotional pain. We see that Jesse didn't fall too far from the tree because his parents be packing heat, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I thought there was just going to be money in this.
I know. I was
Yeah,
looking for that.
same. I honestly thought he was like, all right, like I know a place where they keep some money hid, but we then see kind of the plan unfurl later, where he's like, I know where to get guns, and like I'm gonna try my best to get the rest of this
As
money
soon as
back.
I saw him get the gun, and like you could tell that he was gonna keep it, I was like, all right, man. Because I remember watching it with my mom and my girl and shit. And I'm always Team Heisenberg, and they're always like, well, Jesse feels bad. He's this and that. Like, oh, he cares about kids and all this
He
shit.
has,
It's
like, a moral
bro,
compass
he just
that
went
no
to
one
get a
else
gun
has.
to
Yeah.
go get someone's money. Like, what the fuck? Like, is he making up for like his passion that he feels like he's owed? Because it's some revenge shit. If he's thinking like that's my money and they took it from me, you know.
I
But
think-
either way, he was
I
ready to
think it's
break the
just
law. He
desperate
ain't
measures,
changed
man.
shit.
Yeah.
But then,
I think
you ain't no good guy, Jesse. You just a snitch and an asshole, bro.
No, I think he sees it as this is the person. The guy who has that money is the only person that I know of that can't call
Rat
the cops
me
on
out.
me.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
can't, like, I feel like he could have stolen and broken into some random people's houses or whatever, or he could have like robbed a lady on the street or whatever. But he knows that this person has a lot of money, and also that person kind of also lent to him being chained up for so long. And
Right.
also the guy, he's kind of a fucker anyway,
I get
Yeah.
that, but that sounds like it feels like a revenge list then. So it's like you're still kind of an asshole. I just always felt like he was kind of trying to be a better person.
Nah.
This shows that he's not trying
He's
to be
trying
a
to
better
peace
person.
out.
He's trying to get out of there.
He's just
Yeah.
trying to dip the fuck out.
I think it's like his
But you don't think Breaking Bad set up that he was trying to be a better person towards the end?
Oh, definitely.
Like him turning snitch, I thought was him being soft and him being like, this is all wrong. I've been living wrong. I need to live
Yeah.
better. And then this is just more of like, well, I need to. It sounds like a move I would make. To be real, it's like I ain't there yet, so let me just try to get there. I'll worry about being a bad person later. Let me
Right.
just get there first.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think this was just like the last option. I think it was
Yeah.
the best of two bad or multiple bad ways he
Yeah.
could have gone.
So
Like,
we think he took all of Badger's and Skinny's money? Like that was the end of what they had from Heisenberg?
no, I don't think that's.
You
I
think
think
he
they
could
just
have
had
went
it in-
back and been like, hey.
yeah, because they just kind of pulled out whatever was in their pockets.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well, I don't.
Maybe
I,
wait a second to finesse some meet up with them. I know the eyes are on them right now, but figure out something.
Eyes are too hot, and I think he's just wanting to get out of town as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
and he needs this money as quickly as possible. And obviously, with the cops going back to Badger's place or to Skinny Pete's place for the El Camino,
that would have been way too complicated
Yeah.
Oh,
for
I
him
get it.
to,
I know what he should do. Break into Hank's old house, steal all the minerals, hop on eBay.
Yeah,
Boom.
there
Wait
you
a
go.
couple
Quick
months, but you'll get there, bro. You'll get there.
a couple months.
But what he actually does is takes his parents' guns and looks in the phone book for candy welding to steal back money from Todd's friends. But really quick before we move on from the scene, I do like kind of his goodbye to his parents in a way, where he's like, no matter what happened, like you guys did your
Yeah,
best,
that
like
was
you
great.
guys did what you could. Everything that happens here on out, because he knows like maybe his plan won't work, like maybe
Yeah.
he gets caught. It's on me. Like I've tried to guilt you guys in the past. I've tried to play you guys up and play on your emotions, but this isn't on you guys. And I did really like that, even though I never really enjoyed the parents' characters.
Neither,
But I
yeah.
think it was like an important kind of mature moment for Jesse that I really appreciate.
There was
Yeah.
part of me that just thought that he was finessing them.
Really,
Like, there was part of me that just thought that, like,
he
I
said
am,
that
okay.
just to get them.
I am tugging at the heartstrings, and this
so
is,
they will actually like go
Yeah.
and pick me up.
I mean-
that's fair.
I think that's definitely part of it, right? Because he had a goal there. There was a motive.
I think, I think there's some motive, but also some truth there. I could see it being viewed a couple of different
I
ways,
said
which
to-
Breaking Bad is so good at. What's up?
I said to Gia when that was going on, I was like, dude, my mom would never, like, she would never, when I, in that situation, be like, oh, turn yourself in. Like, maybe meet me up, we'll figure it out, and I'll talk you into that later.
Right.
But just when she said that, I would have been like, I kind of, not to
gotta
pull
cut
off on that
ties.
Heisenberg and the Sun thing, but I'm
Yeah.
like, this is kind of the conversation I cut ties, because now their interests now aren't lining up with my
Yeah.
interests.
Yeah.
We then see Jesse sneak into the candy shop and sees Nachi Goon 1 on the phone when hookers, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, they were hookers.
Yeah, it was like, but at first when they were walking, I was like, what is happening? Oh, okay, that's what they're.
I had asked Gia, and she was like, I literally have no idea. But I was like, these are like cheap hookers, right? Because I think they said
They said
$7.50
an hour. Is that a good rate for a
They looked
hooker? Like
not
an
like the
hour-
greatest.
For 3 of them?
$750 an hour.
That's $250 each one.
Oh, for-
Is it?
you
I
think-
was thinking it was each
Oh.
$7.50, but who knows?
No, I think Because like before he says that, you don't even see how many people there are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just how much they were
Total.
paying.
I
I
thought
mean,
it
it's
was
definitely
cool
not
to-
minimum wage.
I thought it was cool because they just came into all that money, so
Yeah,
it kind of
but,
shows
like,
they
think about
don't
what
they
really
don't
have the
do.
connects yet.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's get this
They're willing to
random
spend
van
money on
full
whatever.
of girls.
Yeah. God.
That guy was giant.
The hookers show up to have a sleepover with the Nazi bunch. We then get a flashback to NG1 welding the contraption that Jesse was stuck to in the Nazi meth lab.
Oh, real quick.
Nazi Goon 1.
When sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
when that security guard for the hookers or whatever jumps out,
Yeah.
why were they making so much fun of him? Like, I
Yeah,
get
that's
they're
kinda rude,
Nazis.
like,
I don't really
he-
know the dude's race, but they're just like,
I know, he's so big.
I think they
Like,
were just like drunk
drunk
idiots.
and just
Yeah,
fucking
drunk
around.
assholes.
Just seemed like really shady.
Yeah. Like he's like, even though it's like a weird shady favor, he's like still like hooking them up with something. Yeah, it was kind of rude.
He's on the clock, bro. Just
Yeah.
leave him be.
We go back to the flashback they make. Jesse tried to break out of the setup they made for him, which just kind of turns into more torture, which is really sad. Where he's running and he gets like yanked like back and forth from the chain. It
Feels
was
like
just
the end of
really
like a short zip line, which
Yeah.
is very painful to hit.
Oh,
It
God.
reminds me of that Mad TV skit. Look what I can do. It's
know it.
Stuart.
Oh,
Thank you,
man,
Kevin.
I hate
And when he
that
he
shit.
would no wait, is it that or is it?
Yeah, it's Stuart.
That's
Th-
Stuart.
no, you know
Look
what
what
it
I
is.
can do.
You know what it is. There's an old bit on Saturday Night Live where Mike Myers plays like it's him and a little girl, and they're in a playground, and they're both kids, and Mike Myers. One time my dad told me blah blah blah, and he was super hyper, and he was tied to a jungle gym, and he would run and try to, and eventually he broke through and like is dragging the jungle gym with him. And that's
Jesus.
exactly what this reminded me of. And 4 people will understand that reference.
Okay. We're then brought to the present, where Jesse plays with the same type of bug he played with before going to see Spooge and his wife. I really like this moment coming back in a way because it shows kind of this. What's the word that I'm looking for?
Him playing with the bug.
Yeah, it's this.
I get it. Rats and bugs. They all just play together.
No. But it's this weird, not ritual, but before he goes to like shake the money from Spooge and stuff, before Spooge's head gets crushed by the ATM machine, he's also playing with like a similar bug, and I think it's just this kind of weird moment where he tries to like just be a kid playing with bugs and forget what he's about to go do.
Like a moment of solace. Almost.
Yeah.
Or like sort of self-regulation a little bit.
Yeah, of just like, hey, like let's try to be calm and just be cool for a minute. Let's see. The ladies decided that doing a full sleepover probably wouldn't be a good idea, so they bounce, and the Nazis start doing coke and play some sick tunes as Jesse gets ready to fuck them up. He walks in and asks for a favor, and at this point, I'm not sure if they're Nazis anymore, but we're sticking with it. NG1 decides he wants to have a gunfight like the Wild West. It seems cheesy because obviously Gilligan wants to modernize Westerns in the coolest way possible, but the dude is high on coke, so I'll give it to them. Where it's just like, it felt very random and very like, all right, this is Gilligan's thing of making Westerns in a modern era, but
my immediate thought was these guys
gunfight.
are coked up, and
Yeah.
this is just
His first thought.
He's just jacked up right now.
Yeah,
He's just
especially
like-
with the shot, like close-up shots of like Jesse's eyes just ready,
Yeah.
and his kind of like coked up, like
watery,
I'm
like,
out of
yeah.
it type
It
of
was
eyes.
definitely weird as shit.
Yeah.
Like the stare down he does to his partner.
Yeah.
I was telling her like
That was
that's
really
not
weird.
scary. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm like, bro, you're
looked
bigger
like
than me, but we're
It was
It
like
looked
an
like he was
almost
trying to
kiss.
kiss him. Yeah, it was an interesting sort of like scene between those two characters, to the point where I thought it was gonna end in an outtake. Like I thought the redheaded guy was gonna like break and like we'll do another take. We'll do another.
Yeah, I think it was just like just a showing of what people are like when they're under the influence and just like the weird mindsets that they can be in.
Right.
NG1 asks if Jesse is ready, and Jesse responds, "Yeah." The music swells up in a very tense way. NG1 goes for his gun, but in the classic, coolest Western move, Jesse fakes him out with the second gun from his parents' safe hidden in his jacket pocket. Holy fucking shit. Like, at this point, I had totally forgotten about the second gun, and I
Right.
thought he was really going to use the 22, and it was just the coolest build-up to that.
I knew he had the second gun. I just didn't know where it was coming from.
Yeah.
And the fact that his hand was in his jacket the whole time, I kind of like. I just didn't know I didn't know how this scene was going to sort of like end in whose death, you know?
Right. NG2 pulls a gun. Jesse runs out of bullets, grabs another gun, and shoots NG2 right in the fucking head. Because he's had experience of kind of running around shooting and stuff, he has the upper hand there. Jesse scares the other guys to leave, grabs NG1's money, and blows the candy shop up and drives away.
I like him stealing their IDs as well. Like,
Yeah,
I'll come
being like,
after
I
you.
fucking know you. I know your addresses. I will come after you.
I got kids. Fuck your kids.
Yeah.
Like,
that
I
shit
don't
was
give
dope.
a shit about your kids.
Yeah.
And I do love the moment where he has the money, he's walking away, and he kind of stops for a moment. He's like, nah, I like, this whole place is a crime scene. I need to like kind of blow it up and like have as little evidence as possible here. We then get a flashback with Jesse, I believe on the phone with Jane, and good old Heisenberg. Now, Andy, I know Nick Scarpino is not here, but we need the intro to Wiggin' Out.
Is it a wig? I don't know. We're gonna find out. Yes or no.
What's up,
not
everybody?
here.
Welcome to Wiggin' Out, a very special episode. Nick Scarpino is no longer the host of Wigging Out for now because maybe Big Wig got him.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am your host, Barrett
It seems like
Courtney.
they have because, as somebody mentioned in our Facebook group, there
He
were
hasn't
no
mentioned-
mention of wigs throughout all of Harry Potter.
Oh.
Like apparently we didn't mention it once, which is just like staggering.
No, I
I feel
don't.
about
I don't
these
think that's
accusations.
true because you guys talk about it with Malfoy's
the
dad.
dad, yeah, Lucius.
But I think so far in Star Wars we haven't talked about it
Man,
yet. So I think
the
Big Wig
Big
got
Wig
him.
has gotten to him,
So
dude.
I am your host Barrett Courtney,
sellout.
joined by my co-host Gia Tap Harris. The first wig that I want to point out, obviously because we've gotten to this scene, is Walter's just terrible bald cap.
The anti-wig.
Yeah, it was a different use for a wig here.
His head looks so big.
Yeah, and I think
was
this is
so
also
domey.
like probably we shouldn't have watched the show
Yeah.
building up because weirdly because he's
I
bald.
know
for
how his head looks.
Yeah, so it's just his head just kind of comes around just in a really weird way,
Ugh.
and
It
the
looks-
entire time you're just like,
It looked best when they were in profile view.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
But from the side view, you could see where the sides were puffing out.
No, see, in profile, that was where it looked most egregious. When there was more wide shots of them just to the side, that's when I was like, okay, I can kind of see like the.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wider
okay,
shot.
Yeah.
Because there's a scene of them looking at each other, sitting in the diner.
Yeah.
And there, it looked fine. But the when it was just his one, or even when they're walking down the hallway, but when especially where he's sitting down at the diner and the light from the outside is kind of hitting him in a weird angle.
Yeah, you
it's
just really
there's
see
a
all the
lot of
shadow,
puffing on the
yeah.
side where like there's no like human beings, we have sort of like this dip right here
Yep.
where our skull, in between our skull and our ear, but there was
Yeah.
just kind of like a little puff, you know?
little puff.
Looked weird.
So that was the most egregious one to me, but I was talking to Gia, my co-host, before the show,
Sure,
and you've got
yeah.
some other ones that you gotta
Yeah,
bring
I
up.
think so. When there's that dead cleaning lady, and so it's a
R.I.P.
flashback. R.I.P. to Jesse digging that hole. He had some fluffy wig thing on there that looked
Yeah.
patchy,
and the his beard also looked weird.
yeah,
and-
it was
and
just
stuff
all
like that.
bad. And then my favorite, the welder with his weird mullet from the right, like
Yeah.
that must have been a wig.
Oh, yeah.
or
Bro, when
something.
he's on the ladder and we first see him in that wig,
Yeah.
I thought he was the fourth guy from Workaholics. You know, the fourth guy that's like not always on camera, but he lives in, or he sells
one
some
of
weed and
He's
shit.
one of like the producers, writers on the show.
I thought it was him, and then he
Yeah.
goes into the light. I'm like, oh, thank God. 'Cause I was like,
Yeah.
I
That
saw
would've been
him
so
in this, I'm
weird.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was not cute.
Yeah,
looked
the
weird.
the
That was
Jesse
weird.
wigs were definitely very, very bad.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just that
I think
He
they're
had-
better than the Ozymandias episode, though. where
how
it was
do
like,
you pronounce it?
Huh?
Oh,
Ozymandias? Yeah. Okay.
The worst hair was definitely Skinny's, though, when he took off that beanie.
I'm not
I know it
convinced
wasn't
that
a
was a
wig.
wig.
Nah, I know, sorry, but it was just the worst one. That shit was
Yeah.
crazy,
Wait,
wasn't even a
bro.
gave his beanie away. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was one of those things where I feel like it would have made more sense for his character to also be like clean shaven and stuff up there. So yeah, the fact that he took off his beanie, he has hair. That's when it was like, oh shit, he looks really old with that.
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know,
did
I don't
look
know
really
why
old.
that just aged him up 10 years, but it did for me.
Well, that's what happens when you wait 6 years to make,
Yeah.
the sequel. Is
Yeah.
Everyone's aged 6 years. At
Yeah,
least.
it's one of those things I've seen a lot of people say, like, it's just hard for me to suspend the disbelief. Or going into it, I almost went to watch it almost as a play where you do have to
Yes.
suspend your
Yeah.
disbelief with some of the casting choices and just some of the things that you have to deal with. And that's just
Why is that?
what it-
Because the age? does it look
Jesse's
different?
supposed to be like 23 in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, like Jesse's supposed to be young. Todd aged a million years. Walt especially also looks really, really different when we see him. So there's just a lot of things that you're just like, all right, it is what it is. Like, let's just get to the story.
But I do love in this whole diner scene the back and forth because this is, what's his goddamn name?
Walt.
Yeah, but what's Bryan Cranston?
Oh, Bryan Cranston.
He has such a great way of portraying, even in Breaking Bad when they do the flashbacks, he has such a great way of portraying Walter White and Heisenberg. And when they're sitting down at the table, that is Walter White. And it's, well, you're going to go to college, and it's this very, very positive demeanor. And I'm talking like a teacher now, and I'm back in my old days, and we're here parking, we're eating breakfast at this, and our RV is parked out there, and it's just still so well acted. And if he would have shaved his head, it would have been flawless.
I think it's just because he's also doing a lot of theater stuff.
And also they didn't want to spoil that he was going to be in.
Right. So if he had shaved his head, it would have been like, all right, So anyway, they go to a diner to grab some breakfast, and Jesse, I believe, gives the most important line in Breaking Bad universe history: "Only assholes don't like pineapple." We realize that this is
That's for you, Kevin.
We realize that this is the wonderful trip Jesse and Walt were talking about going on before the RV died and they were almost stranded for dead. The one moment in the show where there was a glimmer of happiness.
Hey, bro. So remember we were saying earlier about how the dudes didn't know how to deal with the money, so they got like cheap hookers.
Yeah.
Bro like got paid $5 for free water.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. He's new money. He was like, what the fuck?
Well, I love that line from Walter White of like, wow, you're so generous. Sort of, giving him shit.
You're rolling in it. Walt and Jesse discuss selling the biggest batch of meth they've cooked so far. Walt encourages Jesse to go to college. This is a nice.
Well,
little
actually,
scene.
he encourages him to get his GED.
Yeah, he forgets that Jesse has graduated high school, and
Like,
it's
don't
just
take that away from Jesse.
yeah, and it's just a classic Walter Jesse scene where Walt is trying his best to engage, but in a kind of moment of ignorance, he offends Jesse, and then a sweet conversation turns into an argument.
Antagonistic.
But then turns into Walt coughing and him trying to like.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
He's good. He's making sure he's okay, and it just reminds us of the very, very complicated relationship that they had, and I think this scene was like the perfect scene to kind of send the relationship of these two characters a goodbye, a farewell.
Man, I would have broken NDA so bad and just tweeted out like, "Yo, Bryan Cranston's here, and he's Walter White again." Like, if I were one of the people in the diners,
they hid so many people so well of like going in and out of sets and shit like that. Like they were like on lockdown for this movie.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Imagine if we see like in a year or two from now, Breaking Bad's Twitter upload a picture of Aaron Paul, but actually Jesse in like a Alaska State University hoodie. It's like, my man went to college. He did this shit.
Good for him. He went back.
Yeah, dude. I would like to think that's where he goes. Walt says Jesse is lucky for not having to wait his whole life to do something special, which calls back to Walt's whole arc about wanting to do something important with his life, but being kind of late in his years and waiting so long to do something with it, which again kind of calls back to why we're going through this whole journey with Jesse. We then go to OMV driving a truck into Alaska with Jesse in the back. OMV tests Jesse on the facts of his new life and persona. Jesse hands OMV a letter to deliver to Brock and drives away in his car with an Alaska license plate, which says The Last Frontier. As Jesse drives on, looking forward to a fresh start, he looks over and it cuts to a flashback with him and Jane driving. They talk about going where the universe takes people and whether or not it's better to make if it's better to make those choices on your own.
We cut back. Horrible wig is back.
Jesse's wig or Jane's wig?
Jesse.
Oh, okay. We cut back to Jesse, just as we saw him in the finale of Breaking Bad and at the beginning of this movie, driving away to a new adventure where we can only imagine what life will have in store for him. We cut to possibly the worst title screen ever with the most hideous font, a Red Dead 2 looking background, and a song that should have been the end credit song for a mystery detective TV show. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie.
Man, I hate Jane. I hate her so
No, you
much.
have such beef. You don't like snitches.
You don't cross Heisenberg, especially not like that. Like Heisenberg didn't even do anything. He just showed up and like just showed up, bro. Come on, man.
Someone in the chat, Good in Gaming, says, "I can't believe you skipped the one yeah bitch in the movie where they are having breakfast."
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jesse's scooping up all of the fruit. He's like, "Yeah, bitch."
Yeah.
Wait, so
We got one of them.
don't do this because obviously we're live with an audience, but like, can you guys recite your social security number backwards?
Fuck no.
Because
Yeah,
that was
that
a
was
test
weird.
to show if
Crazy.
you know your new identity. I was like, that would take me a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was supposed to memorize, you know what I mean?
But
So-
backwards
No, I mean, I guess the fact that he knows it
just shows
forwards,
you.
yeah.
Backwards and
Yeah, yeah,
forwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It was really cool.
I think that was like an extra credit kind of like
Yeah.
question.
I was
like
impressed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like at that moment where he's driving away, like I had this show is like tied to so many personal relationships
Memories,
in my
yeah.
life, like past and present, and like emotions just like hit me like a ton of bricks because like we're finally getting this send off,
Yeah.
and it felt like it just felt like this like almost when Game of Thrones ended, like it's the end of an era, and
Yeah.
we can finally move on now that we know.
It's
like,
the
what
end of an era
happens. Yeah.
again.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I do like that it brings us back to where he kind of, with more context and a now brighter future, but it's the same kind of send off where he's driving away and you can see that he's happy. It reminds me of, weirdly enough, stick with me here, the send off to the
I mean, I'll
10th
stick with you, dude. I brought up a Michael Myers fucking Saturday Night Live bit.
We're not going anywhere.
It reminds me of the 10th Doctor played by David Tennant in Doctor Who, where his last line before it changes to Matt Smith is, "I don't want to go." And it has like this very emotional impact with a bunch of characters. But then he comes back in like the special where all the different doctors are coming back to like fight this whole evil. And when David Tennant leaves that episode, his last words again are, "I don't want to go." And it's just, it gives new context. Was it really a necessary story? No, but it gives something new. So when we get another goodbye with this character, it means just a little more. And that's what I really, really loved about this movie.
I agree with you, and I think that's like a great point. And also, I like that this movie, because of that same sort of parallel ending, it doesn't undermine the ending of Breaking Bad.
Right.
Like you can still have that be a complete entity.
It's not intrusive.
It's not intrusive, exactly. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, it's not like they're trying to, over-explain things or,
Yep.
or tie up loose ends that maybe fans were unhappy with. Like
Yeah.
this isn't that. I think this is just kind of like, again, hey, remember all these characters that you love? We're going to show you little vignettes with them. And it's almost, I think we talked about this. I don't know if it was during an earlier Star Wars interview or maybe during Harry Potter, where this is kind of like Breaking Bad 1.5, like Lion King 1.5, where
Yeah.
we're seeing these sort of side stories that we didn't really know, but I do think that they add a lot of impactful meaning to the greater story.
Yeah.
I remember after Breaking Bad ended, I was like, ooh, I kind of want to get in the Empire business. That sounds dope. But now I'm like,
Maybe
that
college sounds
coyote
cool.
business, that coyote business, that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
What was that, 250,000 for like
One person.
couple phone calls?
I mean,
a
it's a
little
long,
something?
long
Come on,
drive to
man.
Alaska.
Once you got those
That is a
connects,
long
though, they're
Yeah.
good for life, man.
And he was like planning on driving to Mexico City in like a month
I
and
know.
stuff.
He's
Who do you,
the ultimate middleman.
Who do you
that
think
guy,
takes care
fuck.
of the store when he's gone?
It's probably just close. 'Cause he's making so much money. It's
Yeah.
like he has to, when people are there, he has to act like, hey, I need to
Right.
keep my store
Yeah.
open. But when it's closed, it's like, yeah, like whatever.
He must have a
That
really good
guy's
money launderer.
rolling in the dough.
I know.
Imagine the hookers
Right.
he's getting.
But you also have to think of he is also spending money to at least set them up for their new lives, right? Like he obviously owns or bought the land that Walt
car.
bought the car, but like bought the property that Walt had to like live in for 6 months and buy him all of his food
But Walt was
and
a special
livings.
case, right? They said that
Yeah,
he's more
that's
expensive,
true.
so I
That's
get
true.
that. This Jesse's obviously another special case, but again, I think once you have those connects, you're kind of good to go, right? Like,
absolutely.
Social security number must be expensive as shit, but if
Yeah.
you're coming
Oh,
back
yeah.
like 4 or 5 times a year, I imagine you're getting some kind of little Costco bundle deal. You know?
Yeah, like a buy 10 get one free.
Yeah,
or
let's
go.
something.
Yeah.
frequent buyer miles.
And you're staying in
He has
the
like a-
U.S. It's not even like you're crossing borders.
Right. He
has,
You
like,
know, like, he
reward
has a
zone
good
points.
setup. And this little truck, Kevin can make me one of them little compartments, man. We can get me into Canada finally. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Canada.
You can come to Toronto with us. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I loved it. I am glad that Vince Gilligan didn't try to introduce a greater power or anything like that. I'm glad that it was just sort of
Like self-contained.
it's a very it was all just kind of like it was all about Jesse, and I love that we, even though we saw him at the end of Breaking Bad in a positive light, right? And he just didn't have much of it at all in season 5.
Yeah, there was still like very.
So yeah, it was comforting to get this ending for him.
Speaking of a greater power, Ragu Bagu.
Dun 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 dun.
Ragu.
Dun 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 dun.
Speaking of Bagu.
I don't know who the villain.
Who's the villain here?
The candy guy, the Candyman.
Yeah, Candyman.
Candyman's a villain, huh?
Todd.
Todd.
Todd kind of coming back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Hey
ranked
guys,
him number
come
1.
on, man. Heisenberg is the ultimate villain. Can we just give it to him?
Yeah, I mean,
That's my guy. That's my guy.
He wasn't
bro.
in it.
We deserve it. It's
He
gonna
was
be the
nice
only
in this
Breaking Bad thing
one.
we're gonna get. It's our one chance. Our one chance.
I love your sentiment, but I have to give it to Gus Fring. I think like
Oh,
Gus
yeah.
Fring.
What?
In
yeah,
this one?
absolutely. Well, no, not in this, but I'm talking about like Breaking Bad,
general,
like
got it,
in
got
like
it.
in full, because he is such a very complicated and has a great backstory.
He's probably
that-
my favorite villain of all time.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best written fictional characters
Agreed.
ever. Like more, I would say even a little bit more than Walt, especially. And then I think that's even more impressive because he only gets like a season and a half, almost 2 seasons of building him up as a character. But yeah, the villains here.
Can we meet 50-50 and then, all right, if he's not the villain, could he be the hero? Heisenberg's the hero of the story,
He's
or
the
what?
anti-hero.
I get the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Y'all some suckers, man.
Well, that's it.
Wait, so who is it, Gus? Who do you give it to?
I mean, it's.
Oh, now it doesn't matter. I was passionate about my answer. Now motherfuckers don't
Well,
wait.
if we were
UNCG.
reviewing Breaking Bad, and if we were doing the whole series, I
Yeah.
feel like there'd be a lot more conversation. But in this one, we had.
Oh, no, it's Candy, I
We had
think.
Todd for a little bit. We had the Candyman.
Yeah.
Right.
Candy's the one that got the hatred out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Jane too. I don't like her, so.
All right.
She
hot
popped in
take.
for a moment of levity at the end.
Should we do a little haiku and review?
Ooh.
Do we have any?
We have.
Holy shit.
We have 2.
7 syllables in the middle. We need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. I didn't know there'd be any. That's why I didn't prep the song.
Well, you did well. Michael Blackwell went to patreon.com/kindafunny to write his review in haiku form, just like you can, and he sent us 2. The first is, "You're really lucky. I spent my whole life waiting. Are those tears or snow?"
I don't understand that.
Tears or snow?
All right, Michael Blackwell, we might need a little bit
Is
of
that a reference? Tweet at us.
tweet at us. Number 2 is, "When will we ever see realistic depictions of video games?"
Shout out to the Rage episode in the Breaking Bad show where he's playing with the gun that version of that game never
There's no
existed.
light gun. Yeah, there's no light gun in Rage 2, but also one of the most cheesiest intros next to number 1, the dubstep intro.
Oh God,
with the
yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Just so bad. So bad. Thank you for your haikus and reviews.
Yeah, those were great.
But tweet at us, Michael Blackwell. What the fuck does that mean? Are those tears or snow?
All right, so let's rank the Breaking Bad universe.
How?
How are we thinking about this? Are we just ranking Breaking Bad as a whole and then El Camino and then Better Call Saul? Or do we want to like think about just what are some of the best episodes and think about if this is up there? Like what do we think?
Yeah, where does this
I don't think you gotta wait till the second movie comes out.
rank?
I'm not getting a second movie.
I just think they're all very.
That's what I'm saying. You can't rank them.
I think they're all very different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Very different things.
Where does this rank as an episode of Breaking Bad? Like, is this one of the better ones?
I would say this is.
I mean, that's
I
the
would
thing.
say
It's my
this-
favorite show of all time. I fucking love all of the shows.
Yeah,
Like,
so
Yeah.
it's hard to really grasp like what are the like. There's obviously the best episode, which we don't know how to say.
Right.
Ozymandias.
No, but I'd say even Granite State is up there as well.
Granite State's ending, I'd say, is like one of the most get hype endings, where the theme song plays, which is Walt's theme. And a quick shout out, I'm glad that they didn't really did they. they didn't use the theme song at all in the movie, did they?
No.
Yeah, so I'm glad they didn't, because watching the show again, I was like, this is Walt's theme, especially at the end of Granite State, where he's like, I'm going back, I'm fixing everything, and it just fucking ramps up. It was the coolest thing. Yeah, I would say this is probably, it's like ranking your children at this point. Like I would say mid-tier to
love all my
higher
kids.
tier. You
Yeah.
know, like
Fuck
I
them
think this is a solid
Would you
episode.
put this one's birthday as your code on your safe?
No.
No.
I don't know. It's so hard for me to even try to find out where it lies in the bigger universe. And I think we'd be doing it a disservice to do so.
Oh, to rank it.
Yeah.
Although I do want to give some love to Better Call Saul, because
Ditto.
whenever Nick Scarpino or Kevin is on here and Better Call Saul comes up, they're like, oh, it's fucking lame and shit.
Hey, the first episode starts with him tagging. Hey, my man. There we
I
go.
will make the argument that Better Call Saul season 1 might be better than Breaking Bad season 1, but I think that's also because there's a built universe and stuff like that. They have an advantage.
It's a great show. If y'all
It is
haven't
really
watched
great.
It's a fucking awesome
It's
show.
written so fucking
And
well.
when Kevin and Nick talk about it, it's obvious that they've only watched the first couple of
Kelly,
episodes, so they
the
don't
life.
give it. They didn't give it a chance, and it becomes an amazing show. So I just wanted to give it some love.
Yeah, agreed.
Also, go watch Leftovers. It's a good show too.
Oh, Leftovers is awesome. Are we
Now we're
shouting
just
out
saying,
shows
like,
We're just
that-
naming shows that everybody loves that Kevin doesn't like.
Everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Leftovers is amazing.
All right.
Anyway, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for
everybody.
watching. So next Tuesday, we'll be reviewing. Well, someone up here will
Star
be
Wars
reviewing
crew.
Star Wars Episode 6: Return of the Jedi, and then on Friday, Terminator in review.
Oh, very exciting! I didn't realize that we were already at this point where Terminator
Yeah.
review is starting.
Yeah,
Neither did I.
never seen it.
Didn't know we were doing it.
Ooh, are you gonna be watching along with Tim?
I am.
That's exciting.
I'm gonna probably be falling
Following
asleep
me
on the
too.
couch next to him, but
that's fair.
how I like to watch
Try to
movies.
stay up during T2.
Okay.
Terrible. That's not how you should watch movies.
I know.
T2, I think one of my favorite films of ever. It's
Awesome.
so
Damn.
good.
Okay,
It's so good.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye, bitch.
Gang shit.